Welcome to our uh, monthly webinar series. Now, this one will be focusing on how to run a successful food hall. Luckily for us, we've had a lot of insights from current operations, from those who attended the Future Food Halls conference last April, and we've gotten to collect a lot of different insights from a lot of different concepts and operators from across the country and actually internationally as well. That we're going to be able to share with you today during this webinar. Hopefully, you can take back with you some of the operational streamline activations that both we've seen and we've learned about throughout our experience operating in a multitude of different food hall concepts across the country and the world. So today we are going to talk about how we are going to the best practices that you can use to um, take your food hall experience to the next level. And of course, this is being presented by GoTab as an entertainment commerce platform. We are always putting hospitality at the center of the experience, and that's not going to be any different in a food hall environment. We are going to be able to offer a lot of different pieces to the puzzle that are going to give you as much flexibility to execute your goals and execute the vision of creating a seamless experience throughout the venue. These are some of the brands that we work with currently that we've been able to pick their brains. They've been able to utilize the functionality that GoTab provides to provide a very different experience in each one of these environments, and we're going to pick some of these throughout as examples throughout the webinar. Um, Four things that we learned that we have learned over the years working with as many food halls as we have is that there's four things that separate great food halls from good ones. The way I have always looked at it is that there's a difference between a food court and a food hall. A food court is an amenity, and a food hall is a destination. And you create that destination by really nailing all four of these pillars, creating a frictionless guest experience where they're not thinking about how they need to order or they're given as many options as possible. They're not having to think about having to pull out their credit card in multiple states of ordering. From the food hall operation size, having visibility into how the entire business runs, not just you as a parent company and then relying on reports from individual vendors or things of that nature, but having full insight into the product mix, the sales operations, where things are actually being sold, when locations are opening, closing, and things of that nature, rather than having to consolidate all those from different sources and create separate, spreadsheets and ultimately more work for yourself. Um, the spaces themselves, this was a very, very active conversation being held during the Future Food Halls conference is just being utilizing the space to its fullest, activating the spaces that are not generating or fulfilling actual orders, whether they be, fine dining areas, activating it with entertainment, whether they be installing, arcade games or pickleball courts or having comedy nights and things of that nature. The importance of creating a active space throughout and utilizing every square foot to its fullest not only creates a new experience and a more full experience for the guests, but it helps you generate more revenue, which leads to that fourth pillar, creating as much revenue opportunity as possible. And sometimes there's opportunity that you just didn't realize was possible. Due to the fact that you didn't have the technology or the ability to activate those spaces or create that more seamless experience. So the revenue opportunity really comes down to having number one, two, and three locked in. locked into place. Um, we're going to recognize, I'm going to recognize that there are two different types of food hall operators that are watching this webinar. One, you have an existing food hall. It's probably been extremely successful. You're still here, but you recognize that there are friction points. There are pieces of the puzzle that you just haven't been able to put together because one, maybe you didn't know it existed, or two, you just it's just not the way you started out, and there's a lot of friction in kind of tying it all together. Um, these are going to be locations that have a disconnected point of sale server, a system one per vendor, where there's not a clear connection between each vendor, and the food hall feels a little bit more disjointed. Reconciliation of rent and things of that nature are also a manual process. Then recognize that there are also those in that are watching this that are starting from scratch. They're new builds. You have the opportunity to literally physically build out your space the way that you envision it, and then also be able to future-proof it for that guest experience. And be able to ask yourself questions about how much control you have about the space, and how you want to build in that full guest experience throughout. For those who already exist or who have visited, long-standing existing food halls, I mean, I'm going to recognize that there are basically four models. I'm going to go through the three that you might see that are a little bit more disjointed, and I can't say this enough. It's like the examples that we're using, it's just more of, hey, you probably have been to one of these before. They're obviously very successful. Chelsea Market, New York City. It's very obviously one of the biggest, if not the biggest, food halls in the country, or food hall markets in the country. They have everybody working completely autonomously. Every vendor has their own platform, their own system, and they're obviously been extremely popular, and I'm sure everybody who's watching this has either been or at least knows Chelsea Market. Where they're leaving things on the table is that there's no unification, right? As a guest, you're walking in, you're going to each stall as if you're going to each vendor independently. Other models that you might have come across include again, separated vendor systems, but there is a mobile aggregator for that guest ordering experience. Third Street Market in Milwaukee utilizes a platform like this, where a guest can order mobily from any vendor, but still going up to each stall, you have a different system in place. Dashboards are continuously separated out as well, and insights are still harder to come by as a whole. It's still not everything's not fully connected. Now, you've also probably been to a model that does include a single platform. That's that third model on the right, Assembly Food Hall in Nashville, an extremely successful and amazing space that I've been to myself. They're utilizing a single shared platform, which is great for reporting and centralized control. But in these kind of platforms, from a vendor standpoint, they not living in their own space necessarily. They don't doesn't allow the vendor to work autonomously, in addition to being part of the centralized control. Fulfillment messaging is also not always in this model, not always customized based on where the orders are coming in from. And so there's obviously things that have been working in each one of these models for their particular spaces that you find them in, but there's still a lot that's being left on the table. And that leads us to the fourth model, a unified ecosystem with vendor autonomy. In this scenario, you have the food hall as the parent location that kind of runs the show. This is where you're going. This is the destination that your guests are coming into. This also in this kind of model, the vendors also live in the same platform, but they have their own instance. So each one of the vendors has control over their menus. They have control over the stock levels of their products. They have control over their bank accounts, and their deposits of that nature as well. What we're doing what we see in this scenario, in this model, is that the vendors all are able to build out their own menus and then share access to the menu with the food hall itself. Who, in most cases, the tabs that are started and are processed by the food hall, then we're able to remit the sales tax, the processing payments, accordingly to what each vendor is producing for that tab. This allows the guests to have a single tab experience with zero friction, so they're able to create one tab, order from multiple vendors, and make one final payment rather than having to go to each stall and make individual payments each one. This is going to lower processing costs across the board, not only for each vendor, but for the food hall itself as well. It allows the food hall operation to have real visibility into everything that's happening within your concept, and not rely on individual reports that are sent in or pulled in from other unrelated systems. This also allows you to have more flexibility in what kind of service models you're able to provide throughout the venue without having to change your tab access. What I mean by that is you could have in the food hall a full service dining area, where you have full servers coming to the table taking orders, and then you can have other more entertainment focused or casual environments. That tab still follows the guest around, and you're able to give a flexible options on what they can order, where they can order it from, and and we'll still being able to distribute not only the sales and the tax and what have you, but also the cost of that transaction accordingly throughout their venue, creating a single tab experience, not having to pull out your card every single time, or not having to make separate transactions from the guest experience. Of course, that is, the ideal situation, but also from the operations standpoint, the less transactions you can process, the less processing costs will attach. So there's two ways to build that fourth model, that single tab experience, and that's what I'm going to go into now in a little bit of a demonstration. There is the flow where we have a mobile first QR code ordering platform, or process. We see this at Crave Food Hall in Mississippi, which also uniquely has a hotel booked connected to it as well. Where you're able to order from the room and charge it to your hotel tab, or scan in and order throughout the entire venue as well. The other flow is going to utilize RFID technology, that's going to connect the tab to that RFID, either wristband or card, that can then be read at any of the stalls, any of the point of sales. It also works alongside some integrated partners that provide self-pour technology, at self-pour wall, also at some arcade interactions as well. Amusement Connect being the newest one of those as well. So I'm gonna go through how the mobile first QR ordering flow works. First, so this screen that I have up here is going to mimic what a guest would see on their phone. They walk in, you can have either, and this is where the QR code ordering comes in a lot more very flexible, in a flexible casual dining space that also could include full service areas of the venue as well. But you can pick and choose what's available, when it's available, different pricing, based on where the guest is actually scanning into. And that, again, will follow them around. So if I scan into the first QR code that I find, the menus that are available from that space will show up. I'm able to either start placing an order, or I can actually start my tab right away. And I can use the card that I've used in the past. We'll go ahead and use that card. And now I can open a tab. This tab is now open, and it prompts me to be able to share access to my tab with the other people in my party. So if I came in with a group of people, I can start that tab. I can now share access to that tab with all the people in my party. They can all order directly from their phones, and if we all split up and we go into different areas of the venue, that tab access will still follow them around. So it does allow some this is a great use case in especially a private event, 20, 25, 50 person event. Host of the party starts this tab. They can share this access with everybody within their party, and they can, utilize this ordering flow wherever they happen to be. If they're at Relish and they're at the pickleball courts, they're able to scan in the QR code next to the court. They'll be able to order from there. But somebody else in the party isn't playing pickleball; they're in the other end of the venue. Scan a different QR code, and you'll know exactly where those orders are supposed to go into. Um, all the menus that are shared from the vendors show up here, from the guest ordering. And as you click into them, they're presented in the way that the operator and the food hall would like them presented. Most of the time, we see nice big pictures. And then as you click into them, you have a dummy-proof way of being able to create the ordering process. So if I need to know what kind of burger they want or what their temperature is, we can make them required. We'll go ahead and order some fries. Now that they ordered fries, I know they want a side, so we'll add some ketchup to that. And we can build this cart out across vendors. So if I want, a burger from the burger shop, and I want tacos from the taco shop with some pollo, great. And then you know what? I also want a ice cream for later. So I'm going to order all this at the same time. I don't have to though. That's the beauty of this is that I've started a tab that will continue to follow me along. So if I want to build out this first cart, I can, and I've ordered from three different vendors in this scenario. But now I've got a tab that's running. It's open. I can continue to order more. I can scan into a different QR code. I can continue to share the tab with others. And I can also view to see what that order it came from. So if I want to order some more, and you know what, I still happen to be in that same spot, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. But if I happen to move about the space, I can scan a different QR code. This will help facilitate the guest experience when it comes to the communication functionality. As these orders are sent in, they are sent in directly to the vendors that need to fulfill them. And so when that fulfillment does happen, we get customized text messages back to the guest based on where they ordered, what they ordered, and who's fulfilling it. So you're going to know with a call to action of where you need to come up next. So my ice cream is ready. I get a text message saying, "Hey, Adam, your cookie dough fudge sundae is ready. Please come up to the coffee and cream stall to pick up your order," as an example. From here, the tab, as I mentioned earlier, is can be shared with anybody on the tab. That also gives them the ability to pay their way as well. So you do give everybody who has access to the tab full visibility into what was ordered, who ordered it, and you're able to actually come in and pay your own way if you like. If so, I ordered the house burger, I'm going to just pay for the burger, or maybe we split this taco. I can actually split this, multiple ways, or I can just go ahead and throw a certain amount on here. If there were multiple people ordering on this tab, they would all see this, and once a portion of it was paid, that would show up for them as well, so they're not double paying for anything. If a tab is opened in this manner and it is not closed out, we have the ability to auto close all tabs at the end of the night. All tabs that have a card on file can be closed out to that card. The automatic gratuity, whatever is set up at that location, can be applied automatically. Can also apply gift cards. I have quite a nice large gift card available for me to cover all of my tabs, or I can use the card that I initially used to pre-authorize. So this flow doesn't stop you from using another form of payment like a gift card or even cash if you close out at the point of sale. But you're going to want to put a card on file just to guarantee funds are collected at the end of the night. So the other flow that is very common is the RFID flow. The RFID flow is most common in locations that have either a centralized check-in station, like a host stand. The Market at Malcolm Yards utilizes this flow consistently. For those who did visit us at the Future of Food Halls conference, you saw this in action. Um, but it can also be utilized strictly for private events and things of that nature. But um, we will go ahead and start a tab from the point of sale. This will also be utilized in locations that the bar is the centralized space, and we're going to get into that in a little bit as well. But when the bar is operated by the food hall, that becomes part of the parent location where all the tabs most of the tabs live, especially the running tabs that are shared across all the different vendors. So what we're going to do here is that you can pretend that you're either at the bar starting a tab or you're checking in at the front stand. We have a flow set up here where we're automatically going to ask for a pre-authorization on the card to, again, very similar to that mobile order flow. We want to make sure that we have a card attached to the tab so that we can guarantee funds. Now, for especially for places that have RFID, we can make it so that we can prompt for the exact amount of cards that you need to run here. So we're going to say there's two people in my party. We're going to go ahead and attach my cards to my point of sale. And we're going to give me 1 second. As I pull this back up, here we go. We are going to, there we go. We are going to attach the RFIDs. They come in the forms of cards. They can come in the form of wristbands, but we're utilizing a MyFair 2K card. And what this is going to do is each one of these RFID cards is now attached to this tab as a reference point. There's still only one pre-authorization. There's only one tab, but each one of these cards is now attached to whoever's holding them. And so I can now use this card to pull up my tab at any vendor, whether I am going back up to the bar, pulling up my tab by tapping it, it pulls up the exact tab that it's associated with. And now whatever point of sale that you're tapping in from has access to all their menus that you make available. So at the bar, at the parent location, I'd have access to all the menus from all the vendors. So I'm going to order a chicken sandwich from the bartender. I can do that and add it right to my existing tab. And the very first time you place an order, you're going to associate your name and phone number to the tab. This is an optional field, but it is most commonly used, especially in locations or in spaces where the food is going to be fulfilled, and then you're going to be called to let you know that the fulfillment has concluded. So in this scenario, my chicken sandwich gets sent over to Bash Brothers Burgers. They're making that. As soon as that's done, they will be able to hit the fulfill button on their kitchen display screen. It will send me a text message based on the phone number I attached to that RFID card, letting me know, hey, Adam, your chicken sandwich is ready. Please come up to Bash Brothers to pick it up. Now, in scenarios where I order that maybe from the bar and they're going to run it to me in that kind of a service style, that will dictate what kind of message I receive upon fulfillment. It's still being fulfilled by the same vendor, but the message that's being sent to me will change based on where I ordered that item. So again, if I'm ordering in an area that I'm going to need to come back up to the window and pick it up, which is the most common, great, I'll get a message that tells me to do so. But if I order in a full service environment or like at the bar and you have food runners that are utilized to run food from the stalls to the individuals, you're going to know exactly where to run it to. And you're gonna that message that's sent to me may just say something along the lines of, "Hey, Adam, your chicken sandwich is ready. It's on its way to you at the bar, or wherever you happen to have ordered from." Um,
Adam, we have a couple of questions. I'm not sure if you want to take them now or you want to wait till the end.
no, we can. I love taking questions.
All right. I don't know if you can see them in the chat or I'll just read it to you. The first one is, can QR code and interface be custom branded?
Yeah, I mean the QR codes can be they're generated by GoTab, but they can be utilized in any form of templates that you'd like. The actual QR code themselves wouldn't necessarily have like a logo in the middle of it, but they are usually you're able to download them and superimpose them into any template that you'd like. We see people printing them in tabletops, sometimes in very nice stickers that are on the tables, or on under glass. We see that very common as well, just so they can be a little bit more protected. But the QRs themselves are auto-generated. How they are presented can vary based on your own personal branding.
Okay, and then the next question, in this scenario, it's a party with kids who don't have phones. So the question is, once a tab is started with a QR code, is there a way to print the QR code or have a RFID card tied to it so that those people who don't have phones can still place orders?
Sure. Yeah, that's where the RFID and this is where the mixture actually can come into play of utilizing both flows. In those scenarios, I mean, if I'm going somewhere with my kids, I'm probably just placing all my orders directly on my phone. I'm not just going to hand it over to them and let them do it. But we do have the ability of attaching both RFID passes and giving access mobily to the tab. And we can do that in either direction. So this, for example, the tab that I started from my phone here shows the Atom 951 tab. I can come in here and then attach a different set of RFID passes to this tab as well. So now this pass that I would add on to this one would be available in the same way that the RFID would have been added on the original one. And these cards that I am swiping have already been tapped to other tabs. So that's another security measure is that these RFID cards can only be attached to one tab at a time. And when a tab is closed, the tab itself refreshes the RFID passes. So they can be reutilized the next day, but they would have to be repaired with a new tab. Obviously, that's a security measure. You don't want, payment connections to live on an RFID card outside of the use case. And thank you, yes, thank you, Patricia, for outlining those questions. And keep them coming. Yeah, if you guys have more. And so that really the with both the mobile ordering and the RFID tab creation flow, really what it comes down to is that you're creating this ability for a single tab experience. Again, those who were at Malcolm Yards saw how easy it was to go from vendor to vendor to vendor, tapping your RFID card, adding on to the existing tab without having to think about payments or without thinking about pulling out your credit card for each device. What it doesn't do is it doesn't limit your guest to doing that. So in those scenarios, if I do want to bypass the check-in station or the bar, and I know I'm just in here quickly, I want a taco, I can walk right up to the taco stand. It doesn't stop me from being able to give a direct payment directly to the vendor, making one. If I know I'm only going to make one order, that's the only transaction I'm going to make. It doesn't. There, it, we're not creating friction where friction doesn't need to be doesn't need to live. So it gives you optionality, it gives your guests optionality as well. Where the possibility of blending in the two is we have the ability of adding in what we call easy tab into the flow of the RFID flow. And so I showed you how you can add a pass to a mobile order. In conjunction, when I start that check-in process with the RFID, we can also prompt for a phone number upon tab creation. This will actually send a text message directly to the person who started the tab. So you've connected RFID passes automatically or as part of the natural flow. And then you just added the ability to send that tab access to the person who ordered it to be able to pick and choose how they want to order either mobily or through RFID, creating this is that ability to create new revenue streams. And we're going to get into this a little bit later in just a little bit as well. Um, so there were four main areas of revenue generation or focuses that we came across talking to our operators and seeing them in person in office and talking to other operators at the Future Food Halls conference as well. One of the most important aspects of your food hall is the bar program, and this is going to be one of the bigger revenue generation aspects of the food hall itself as well. So we see most of the most successful food halls owning and operating the bar program as a whole, or as at least as in part. Whether that means you put all of your eggs into the basket of a self pour wall, or it means you are doing a full service setup bar that's more centrally located. Whatever direction you end up going in, the number one thing that I took away from having all the conversations and all the observations is make it the centerpiece. Get a drink in your guests' hands as fast as possible. Make it as the least difficult as possible to get a drink because when you go out, just think about traditionally going out to a restaurant, the first thing you order is a drink. The first thing on your mind is the drink. And so that you want to make it as easy as possible to get that tab started, to get something in their hands. We'd say that F and B, maybe the F and the B should be switched. The beverage part is the most important. And it doesn't stop at the alcohol bar. Like coffee, your coffee stall can be one of the most powerful vendors or activations in your entire space, which then leads to the ability of mixing and matching your day parts and what you're actually offering throughout the course of the day. The more options you provide in different beverages, that's what's attracting people into your space in different day parts as well. Golden Mill is a perfect example. It's like they have the full bar. Let's pull up the yes, Golden Mill. Um, Great, incredibly popular, incredibly beautiful space out in Golden, Colorado. They do run with the Pour My Bev or Pour My Beer pour wall. It's one of their most poured walls that they have in the entire country, and full bar as well. They have been able to utilize the RFID flow for a long period of time, and they're able to order a frictionless payment experience with that, where they're able to integrate the pour walls and their bars and ordering from their vendors all on one single tab. Um, we have yep, we'll go. The other area of revenue generation and kind of a pillar of success that we've seen is the consolidated online ordering and delivery aspects. Anderson Market in Red Bank, New Jersey, perfect example of this. And what's nice about what they've done as well is they've really leaned into the market aspect of the public market or of the food hall market type of environment where they're basically operating as a grocery store with local vendors and local operations. They're able to sell deli products and seafood by the pound. They're able to utilize barcodes that are generated that can read the exact weight and price associated with that product at the checkout line. And if you head over to their website, you can do a consolidated online ordering page as well. And they're able to order in advance a variety of features. And with their conjunction with software partners of ours, ShipDay, they're able to provide delivery on a consolidated basis as well, creating new revenue streams and just a new experience that you may not have expected from a traditional food hall or food court situation. Um, the private events section goes hand in hand with the activations. I mean, this In my opinion, private events is not anything new. This should be something that every restaurant is striving to accomplish. And the most successful food halls do look at themselves as they are the restaurant. They are the full service, full. They want to provide as much of the experience and options of the food and beverage side as a full service restaurant. But they have you have a unique opportunity to utilize a lot of space within the food hall itself to create new experiences, new private experiences that will attract new people that may have not even thought to go into your space or may not even heard of you, and they only heard of you through the private event. For my operation days, I would always tell my staff that if we had a 50-person party, you have to assume that 48 people of that party never heard of us before. And this was our opportunity to show, put our best foot forward and create that seamless experience so that they do think about coming back with two or three of their other friends during their regular choices of where they're going to go out to eat or claim their experiences as well. Mark and Malcolm Yaris, of course, is the perfect example because we hosted our own event at their space, utilizing all their two different private event spaces throughout the venue, and they were amazing with with how they had things set up, how they were positioned, and of course utilizing the RFID event cards to a tie to the event itself. They're able to create an experience where you're able to just start that tab at the beginning of the day, attach 50, 100 RFID cards to the tab, and then hand over those RFID cards to the host of the party when they arrive so they're ready to go. So you have that seamless experience of being able to just go about and add to the tab within the party in a secure manner. So you have those. The only way to add to the tab in those scenarios is if you have one of the event RFID cards tied to that open tab. And then the final one that I alluded to earlier is just activations of your open spaces. A lot of times that can be, that can change throughout, the years or the decades based on what's popular, what's not popular, what's growing, and where you want to kind of focus your attention. And some of the food halls that we talk to have an infinite amount of space. Others obviously do not. But really being able to focus on what you really want to do well, in conjunction with your food and beverage program, is going to help increase dwell time and give people another reason to come visit. Relish Food Hall in Louisville, Colorado is a great example of this. They obviously have the ability to activate other spaces, whether it be with, outdoor spaces with movie nights or what have you. But their focus, of course, is going to be their pickleball venue, and that creates this entirely different space that doesn't feel separated because of the way that they're able to connect that single tab experience on the courts, off the courts, inside, outside. And you've attracted people that are here for pickleball and now realize there's more to it, and there's more options, and you've attracted people who are coming in for the food and beverage experience and then realizing, hey, there's a whole nother reason to come into my space. And this can be true, and not just for, sports or pickleball, but just activating open spaces, utilizing your private event space when you're not booked for private events for other events, activations, whether it be selling tickets to a comedy night or just having live music on a regular basis. Being consistent and and continuously activating those spaces is going to be your best marketing aspects, where you're able to, if people trust that you're always doing something, they're going to trust that they can come and take advantage of that throughout the course of their choice when they're making their choices to come in. Um, the model that we talked about earlier, is, that Model 4, the one that we're really focusing on, where everybody's connected, and they're not, and your guests are connected with a single tab, and your operations are connected under a single overall platform. Um, Again, doesn't mean that your each individual vendor has to live in isolation. Um, they get the connection with the overall ecosystem of the food hall, that shared tab experience that they wouldn't have had otherwise, while still being able to control their own destiny. And so the advantage that they get are the numbers are real, right? We one of the we I looked into some average vendor sales of a certain food hall, and the direct orders that are coming in were around $23,000 a month. And that's how much they're getting just at the point of sale directly. But on the orders that are coming in through the shared tab, and or utilizing the RFID flow, adds another $94,000 a month, that they don't have the ability of doing, collecting on that without being part of that full ecosystem with that shared tab experience. Adding in mobile ordering does another, $19,000 that we saw come in per month. Again, options of being able to add on to existing tabs, or just giving different options of placing orders, is that revenue generation that you might not have had in the past. Um, your vendors get everything that they would get at running their own point of sale as well. And that's really the part that hits home the most, is just the fact that they're not living under the umbrella of somebody else. They're living in their own space, and they're sharing access into their space with the ecosystem. And because we're able to connect all those things, we're able to get your remittances automated. All those sales from those multi-vendor orders are automatically getting distributed. You're getting less transactions. And when you make an update to your menu, it gets updated everywhere. So you're saving a lot of time, you're saving a lot of headaches, in what that ordering experience looks like across the board. Um, the operators themselves, the food hall operators who are running the show, because they are keeping everything connected, they have full business visibility into what's happening across the board. We talked about this earlier, being able to run PMix reports that sees all products that are being run across the board. They will, you get a group sales dashboard, which I will give you a snapshot of here as well. There we go. So we'll have an ability, your manager dashboard in GoTab is completely mobile friendly. You can run this on your GoTab manager app, or you can just run it in your browser. But your food halls or multi-vendor spaces are provided with a group view, where you're able to see, the full gross sales by zone, which is really important in being able to break down where your sales are actually coming from within the venue, especially very large venues where you have a lot of different places that people could be ordering from. But be having full insight into the sales that are being generated from each of the vendors, including yourself, if you are operating the bar, or selling gift cards that can be utilized across vendors as well. Having that full insight into all the things that are going on, not only on the sales page, but also on your product mix page, being able to see exactly where all these things are coming from, and being able to drill down in the way that makes sense to you. So being able to see all the different, where things are being sold in each particular zone, what categories are being sold, and by what locations as well. You can really get better insights into, what's selling well, what's not selling well, having discussions with your vendors and having more of a partnership, into, hey, we're seeing popularity in products X, Y, and Z on Tuesdays, but they're not selling on Fridays, as the most basic way. But you can really kind of break down about, like, hey, let's mix up the menus. Again, the vendors have full control over that, and of course, it also depends on your agreements that you have with each individual vendor, and the operation. But as a whole, this gives you, as a full-on operation, you have more insights than you would have if everything was disjointed. And then because everything is connected, we're able to automate that rent and remittances portion of it the way that matches your agreements. Whether they be CAM charges, base rent, rev shares, they can all be built out to automatically come out daily, weekly, monthly, however you want to build that out. And this is also going to benefit the each individual vendor as well, especially if it is broken out in a daily based on sales. You're not seeing a very large invoice being having to be chased down with a net 30 situation on a regular basis, and then having to see that large sum of money come out of your bank account all at once. Able to spread that out and be dictated based on your actual sales revenue can go a long way in just having consistency. Um, and
I
yeah,
know.
just having the you have more questions.
Yeah, Adam, no, I don't have more questions, but I know we're at time. I know you have a couple more slides to get through, and I'll ask everyone on the call if you have any final questions. We'll try to cover them off really quickly, or we can follow up with you.
Great. Yeah, the last piece of the slides that I wanted to kind of just go into detail about the ability to add in the different revenue streams. We had a food hall recently who was completely RFID and counter ordering specific. They added in an easy tab, the easy tab flow where I talked about earlier, where you're able to add in the mobile ordering along with the RFID. And it generated about at the food hall level, it generated about 1,000 more daily orders on average. Now, there, most of those were on the weekends and what have you, but it averaged out to be all 48% more orders per day, and that's the biggest portion of it. Of course, the sales doesn't hurt either. That they weren't seeing prior to this. And at one individual vendor, they saw the same increase in daily orders of a 46% increase in daily orders just because their menu and their options were being made available in a new way that, a good chunk of the clientele that were coming in preferred to order in that way. It didn't take away their ability to order utilizing the RFID or at the counter, but it did create a new avenue for sales generation. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, is you have options. You have the ability to create a environment, a solution for your guest experience that matches what you want to be able to provide, and just being able to ask yourself like, where where's the middle ground? Where are my hard lines, and what kind of experience am I building out? What am I capable of doing with my existing space and my existing vendor agreements? And being able to just ask yourself, what can we do? And then being able to roll that out in a way that makes sense for everybody involved. And yeah, those are the great questions you need to ask yourself, and we're happy to continue to help out in any way that we can. And that'll sum it up. If there were any other last second questions, Patricia, I'm happy to handle those. But if anybody wants to get into a little bit more of the weeds, feel free to reach out directly. And then we'll get into it.
Yeah, I don't think we have any other questions. So thank you so much, Adam, and thanks everyone for joining. We will be sharing a recording of this webinar shortly.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye.